All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. We've been going over the AppInventor2 Create Your Own Android Apps text by Wolber, Abelson, Spertus, and Looney. We're in the middle of Chapter 6, our ParisMapTour. All right. Next, you'll program the app so that when the user chooses one of those three locations, the activity starter launches Google Maps and searches for a specified location. Now, if you've ever looked at a URL with anything like this, all right, everything that happens after the question mark is typically referred to as a query string. So here it says basically the Q is for query and it's equal to Paris. The question mark is mentioned here as common to many URLs specifying a parameter is coming. A parameter is extra information that the website needs in order to be able to fully process a request. All right, so this example here instructs Google Maps what map to display. In this app, as it says, we'll build a URL dynamically, adding the parameter based on the location that user chooses. All right, this way you can show different maps based on the user choices. When the user chooses an item from the list picker component, the after picking event is triggered. In the event handler for after picking, we'll need to set the data URI of the activity starter so that it knows which map to open. And then we need to launch Google Maps with the start activity. So this is what we'll need to do. And it will look like this, but it says in the after picking, which will just, is in the list picker 1 drawer. That's the event that's triggered again after the user, when the user chooses one of the options in the list picker. The set activity starter 1.data URI instructs Google Maps which map to open or to launch. The join will build that data URI from 2 pieces of text. All right. We'll have this, which is our Google Maps, and then the selection, which will be the item we want to choose, so that what comes after that Q will be you'll figure it out based on what selection of the 3 things we made. All right. Now, I said that very generically, but they explain it right here in the book as when the user chooses from the list picker, the chosen item is stored in the list picker .selection, and after picking event is triggered. So this is what we want to put in. So I want to drag out a list picker 1 after picking. So my list picker 1. In fact, let's collapse both of these. And we'll move them off to the side, as I have been doing, so we can keep working. All right, so list picker 1, after picking. And what we want in here is to set the activity starter, and then we'll want to call that, okay, so we want to find the activity starter set activity starter 1.data URI, and then we're going to need a join block in there. And I should remember that by now. I think it's here. There we go. I'm going to actually move these down so they're not in the way. Make sure whenever you do that, don't put them in the garbage. All right. And the first one we're going to set to this. So we need to bring in a text. All right. And the second one will be the list picker 1.selection. And then when we're done, we want to call the activity starter 1.start activity. Now, I don't know if that'll be in here. Nope. So it should be in here. Okay. So again, we're telling it after we pick a value, one of those 3 values, we want to set the URL that we want to choose. And that URL will be all this, but instead of hard coding in a query, we're going to choose the one that we put into the list picker. Because you've already set the other properties, the activity 1, starter activity, launches the Maps app and invokes the search described by this. So here is the complete code, and we put all of it in. Okay? So I'm going to come back to here. We're going to go back. I'm going to go back here. Now let's see if any magic happens. You can see that it's starting up the maps. Okay. Waiting for location. The good news is that it appears as though it's recognizing what we're trying to do. Searching for the Eiffel Tower, which was the first one, and there it is. All right. Now we could go, and I don't want to take the time to do that right now, but we could go and check the other two just to make sure they work as well. I have no doubt that they're going to. All right? So that's the end of part 1 of the chapter. In part 2, as it says, the activity starter is an important component because it provides access to any other app on the device. But there's another way to build a tour guide that uses the different component, that being the web viewer, which you place within your map, and it behaves, as it says, like a browser. It can open any web page, including Google Map, in the viewer, and you can programmatically change the page that appears. Unlike Activity Starter, the user doesn't ever leave the app, so you don't have to count on them hitting the back button to come back. So we're going to build another version of the app where we'll use the web viewer, and as it says, we'll spice up the app so that it opens zoomed in and street views of Paris monuments. Then we'll define a second list and use a more complicated scheme to decide which map to show. To begin, you'll first explore Google Maps to obtain the URLs of some specific maps. You'll then use some Parisian landmarks for destinations, but when the user chooses one, we'll use an index, which is going to be the position in the list of their choice, to select and open the specific zoomed in or street view map. Before going on, as the author mentions right here, you might want to save your project doing a save as. So we want another copy of it, in other words. So this is already out here, so I'm going to do a project, and I'm going to do here a save project as. In fact, it should be saving for us, but I'm going to actually do a project, save project. All right, and now a project, save project as. We've got, and it automatically calls it, copy. Since I've done it twice, unfortunately, it's got copy. We'll just, do they tell you what to call this? All right, we'll just call it ParisMapTour 2. You could call it Web Viewer, whatever. I'm just going to be simple here. All right. So we've done that. As it says, this way, if we end up goofing up this second version, we still have the first one to go back to. In the designer, delete your activity starter component, which is going to remove a lot of that code. So you'll notice that if we go into the blocks editor, all right, that's what we now have. Then from the user interface drawer, drag a web viewer component and place it below the other components. Uncheck the scrollable so the web viewer will display viewers pages correctly. All right, so I'm going back to the designer here, and we're going to come up and find web viewer, and we're going to place that at the very bottom of our screen. There it is. See it move the other stuff up. Not going to worry about that right now. All right, because this, which we set up to fill the parent, we can now change it, the height at least probably to automatic, to make it look a little, well, I thought that would look nicer, but I guess it looks worse. Let's change this, and we'll make it about maybe 200 pixels. All right, that looks a little better, and it gives us a little bit more room. Okay, so we've got all that done. So we deleted the activity starter component. You see that it's not here any longer. There's different ways to delete things. I always find the easiest is to just highlight it, go down to the bottom, and choose delete. All right, we added the web viewer. Now we want to uncheck the screen1.scrollable property. So we got to go back to our screen one. Got to find scrollable, and it is unchecked already. All right, the next step is to open Google Maps on your computer and find the specific maps you want to launch for each destination. So we'll search Google Maps and we'll put down the Eiffel Tower. Zoom in to the level that you desire. I don't know. That looks pretty good. Choose the type of view you want, for example, Street View. It's been a while since I worked with Google Maps. I apologize. Choose the type of view you want, example, Street View. Drag it to the area you wanted to explore. Okay, I'm just going to leave it right there. Grab the URI. In the classic version of Maps, you click the link button near the top of the Maps window and copy the URL. In the newer version, you just grab the URL from the address bar. That's what I did. Using this scheme to create some cool maps and monuments, extract what's shown here. I'm just going to grab what the author has. In fact, to try to make my life a little simpler here, there's one. Oops, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Probably a much faster way of doing this than what I'm doing right now, but at least I believe that the way I'm doing it will work. which is what I'm most concerned with. All right, so I have my 3 URLs. Which means I'm right here. To view any of these maps in a browser, paste the URLs into the address bar. That's what I did. You'll need a list named URLs for containing the URL of each destination. All right, so we want to create the list as shown. So I'm going to go into my blocks editor. I'm going to create another variable. Well, maybe I'll leave it up just in case I need that. All right, and we're going to call this variable URLs. And we're going to initialize it to, we're going to bring up our list picker. And we want the 3 in there just as we did before, so we'll have to click here, add another item in here. There we go. So now we have those. And we want to put in these 3 things here. Okay. Let's see. Don't want to do that. Let's come back and do it like this. I'm going to pause for a minute because I'm going to go and manually copy these URLs. All right, because it's not letting me get to them any other way. So I'll be right back. In fact, we're at 17 minutes, so I'll finish this particular lecture, and we'll finish this up when we come back. We're doing very well. We should almost finish up in one more, hopefully.